Yes, the original Pixel Watch is deceptively good, but the Google Pixel Watch 2 could be the best Wear OS watch to date, and we know all the specs, upgrades, the new tech, so stick around to learn more about Google's latest wearable. Hey, we all more or less agree that the original Google Pixel Watch was an imperfect smartwatch, but built or provided a decent foundation for Google to build upon. That's by the by, as we're wondering just what Google can achieve, or if they can achieve true greatness with its next Pixel Watch 2. We will only know for sure in a few months, but thanks to a source inside Google, we can actually preview some of the changes and improvements to the Pixel Watch 2, the specification sheet, and right now, it definitely makes for great reading. Here's the biggest change that almost all Android fans will be itching to hear. The Pixel Watch 2 is going to replace the Pixel Watch's extremely outdated Exynos 9110 SoC with the Qualcomm Snapdragon W5 Gen 1. The new processor comes with improved performance, and all you need to know is that the Exynos chip that currently is found in the Pixel Watch 1 had half of the cores running at almost half the speed. Adding to that, there's a brand new GPU which should improve performance. That's the Adreno 702 for any of you tech nerds out there. What's annoying with the current gen is that the pretty poor battery life and longevity are complaints we hear quite regularly. Good news though is that the efficiency should be a core tenet of this new processor, and this is due to improvements in the 4nm chip manufacturing process versus the 10nm process utilized by the Exynos 9110. Basically, this means more transistors taking up less space, and smaller transistors require less power to run. That's the basic crux of it. Smaller in this instance naturally means better. The Qualcomm Snapdragon W5 is built on the same Samsung 4nm process as most of the 2021 and 2022 smartphone chips, providing that major efficiency improvement over that old chip. That's just basically what it means. While Qualcomm also reuses a previous chip design and simply ports it to a newer process node, W5 is a 4nm port of the QCM2290 IoT chip. It's still much newer and more power efficient. It also supports brand new low power states such as deep sleep and hibernation, which should further improve the Pixel Watch 2's battery life day to day. Interestingly, Google has opted not to use a W5 Plus chip, which is a slightly more powerful version of the W5, which is of course disappointing to hear. That said, the only practical difference between the Plus and the non-Plus variants of this processor is the presence of Qualcomm's first-party QCC5100 co-processor. Google has just instead decided to use a custom co-processor based on an NXP chip, similar to the first-generation watch, with its own co-processor. One of the most significant upgrades, though, to the Pixel Watch 2 will be the inclusion of an ultra-wideband or UWB chip, and the device has an NXP SR100T UWB module to enable new applications and usage. Our source couldn't specifically confirm what software features will come, but we think we can dream a little bit. The most obvious use case is precise device finding. Whether it's the watch itself or another device you're looking for or might have misplaced, this would make a lot of sense, especially considering Google is working to improve its Find My Device network, which will also support UWB devices, such as its first-party tracker, which of course is codenamed Grogu and expected to launch later this year. Another function that this could enable is unlocking your car using digital car key functionality. The tech is already supported by car manufacturers such as BMW and brands such as GM, Honda, Volkswagen and Hyundai, all working on their own implementations of this technology. Having support in your watch would mean that unlocking your car without using your phone or your key is available, because UWB features this optionality without even having your phone nearby. UWB support currently is only available on a handful of Android phones too. Lastly, Google could enable the watch to seamlessly transfer media playback to a docked Pixel tablet or a future UWB-enabled Nest speaker. Google has already announced the feature will work with Pixel phones, but think about it. A smartwatch usually stays on throughout the day, while the phone might be lying out somewhere else. Including the feature on a watch would make transferring the playback much more convenient and more importantly, almost seamless. Not to mention, it could enable the feature for users that have phones that don't support this UWB functionality. As we just noted a little bit ago, the first generation Pixel Watch has been fairly widely criticized for its mid to poor battery life. While this should already be mitigated thanks to that new and efficient SoC, Google isn't resting on its laurels and is going to increase the battery capacity for this next gen option. The Pixel Watch 2 will ship with a battery rated at 306 mAh, and that's the typical capacity. That's not going to be guaranteed across the board. The original Pixel Watch was rated at 294 mAh, so that's a fairly modest 4% improvement, but that extra bump could mean precious minutes of wear each and every day, thanks to that more efficient processor that is tucked away neatly inside. Another notable that is hard to argue with is that the original Pixel Watch has some pretty massive bezels. Yeah, sadly, this situation is not going to change this year at least, but Google is opting for a different panel here. The basic specs do remain the same. It's a 1.2-inch round OLED with a resolution of 384 by 384 pixels. The new display is actually going to be sourced from Samsung Display instead of the Pixel Watch's BOE panel. Our source couldn't confirm any other changes, but it's possible that this new part comes with other improvements such as improved brightness or new energy saving features too, but we will have to just wait and see what the screen has in store for us. Samsung may have actually beaten Google to the punch with the Galaxy Watch 6 series, but Wear OS 4 based upon Android 13 will come as standard on the Pixel Watch 2, as you probably would have expected, given Google does make the OS after all. The latest wearable build includes support for features such as dynamic theming as well, which is found on Pixel phones. It also has support for seamless updates, which is going to be a first for a smartwatch. So for anyone who doesn't know, devices that use seamless updates can update their OS in the background while the old version is still currently running. So you get an OTA ping on your phone or your tablet or whatever it happens to be, you can download it, do what you need to do, and then reboot when you're ready to install it. One of the few disadvantages of this method though is that storage space occupied by the system components is actually going to be almost doubled while this process is currently running, which made it slightly infeasible on lower end devices such as watches. It seems that Google has actually finally figured out a way to include it on their upcoming watch, as the Pixel Watch 2 will fully support the feature, which will be great for getting your watch updated in a timely manner. For anyone wondering, the Pixel Watch 2 will come in two variants, and it is being developed under two separate codenames. EOS is the LTE variant, and Aurora, which only supports Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. This isn't a new practice for Google. Last year's Pixel Watch used the codename R11 for the cellular enabled model, and R11 BT Wi-Fi for the variant only supporting Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, so that's definitely not a shock to anyone out there. The Pixel Watch 2 though will have three separate model numbers: G4TSL, GC38G8, and GD2WG. While we don't have any complete information regarding its availability in specific regions, the regulatory e-labels now include an entry for India's BIS regulatory body, which could mean that Google intends to launch the watch there, which would be big news for Indian Pixel fans. Lastly, we have a little bit of information about the software itself. We've been provided with a retail animation for this device that will be shown on demo units of the Pixel Watch 2. It doesn't necessarily reveal any new features or other information other than the watch. It's supposed to attract customers. It's even called Attract Loop in its codename. However, it's still a pretty animation and in the material style for you to look at, if some of you out there into it. We've also had some watch faces that you can now see on screen, which should be available on the Pixel Watch 2. We are hoping they will be backwards compatible, but there's no note on that yet. But a lot of these definitely mimic the style and the customizable options that you'll see on Pixel phones with the Android 14 release and Android 14 beta. So that concludes our exclusive early look at the full specifications of the Pixel Watch 2. It appears to be a massive internal update over the original Pixel Watch, but will it be enough to make this a truly great wearable? That is a tough question to answer, but it could be one of the best Wear OS watches that you can go out and buy, at least on paper. I want to ask you what you think. What do you think? Is the Pixel Watch 2 going to be a fly or a flop? Let me know down in the comment section below. Cheers for watching, and I will catch you in the next up.